Hi, my name's Tara Fort. I'm an inclusive early childhood major. My student teaching setting, I am at Grimshaw Elementary School, and I work with a teacher who is a special education consultant teacher for kindergarten, first and second grade. So I don't have a classroom. We push into other classrooms and work with individual students with IEPs. So teaching this lesson I taught in the second grade classroom that I work with one student with. Um, I taught a lesson on arrays, which is the foundations of multiplication. And I chose to talk about this lesson because um, everything that could have went wrong did go wrong in the lesson. I wanted to integrate technology, so I had my formative assessment was a Plickers activity where they hold the card up and I'm supposed to scan it. But the Promethean board stopped working, so I wasn't able to show my presentation or do my formative assessment. And then we had a fire drill at the end, so it cut off the end of my lesson and I didn't get to do the activity. But even though everything that could have went wrong did go wrong, I think the lesson still went really well. The kids were really engaged. I was prepared and I had my presentation printed out for them so they had a visual. So we were able to continue the lesson even though the technology stopped working. I wasn't able to do my formative assessment, but when we did come back from the fire drill, I did just do a quick thumbs up, thumbs down for my test that I was going to do. For artifacts, I'm going to share my screen, hopefully. So these are the arrays that they ended up making. And they had a really fun time with this and they came out so nice. And Miss Jean, the second grade teacher, used it as a bulletin board. And you can see that they each got to make their own and they arranged them in rows and columns. Oh, I did it backwards. Rows and columns. And all of my students were able to participate in this activity, even my students with IEPs. So it was an inclusive post activity. And for my other artifact, I was gonna show, how do I change the screen? I wanted to show part of the video of my lesson because I think that it shows they were very engaged. This is after the smartboard stopped working and the internet stopped working, so I couldn't use my Google Slide. And I had a video to watch and I had a hands-on activity we were gonna do on the smartboard, but I ended up just using the whiteboard tool on the smartboard and invited them to come up to the board instead. And they had really good thinking. They were really So they're working on their individual problems and I had them create their own arrays with small manipulatives. And I invited them to come up to write their number sentence. And this student wrote 3 + 3 + 3 = 9, which is the way we would write it because we were working on rows and not our columns. And then this student comes up and we told them at the beginning, we don't need to worry about multiplication because they're in second grade. They don't start multiplication until third grade. These are just teaching them why multiplication works. And this student came up and answered it with a multiplication number sentence. And that was very exciting because we touched on it, but we didn't talk about it and we didn't practice with it. So they were picking up on things that we weren't the targets of the lesson, but they were still learning, which was very exciting. To reflect on my lesson, I think I've done that already, but I think it went really well, despite everything. I do think that next time I think I'll always have hard copies of things just because they call the Promethean board Patricia. So when Patricia stopped working. If I didn't have that, my lesson, I wouldn't have been able to do it. I would have had to stop and let the teacher take over because there would have been nothing for me to teach them with or do. So I think that's something that I learned that I will always make sure to do is have some sort of hard copy for them. Because it was originally for students who need the visual support, but I had enough for the whole class. Handing out the bears, that got them a little rowdy. I think I would, I don't know how I would, that might just be a thing. I don't know. But they got a little excited when I handed out the teddy bears for manipulatives. Um, it was just something that I felt like everything that I did, it was totally out of my control, the things that did go wrong. But what was in my control, I feel did really well. And it took me a while to be like, yeah, that did go well because I want everything to be perfect, but nothing will be perfect. And that's something that this lesson showed me as well. It doesn't matter how much I plan and I prep and I'm ready to go and my students are ready and they wanted to learn and they were so excited about this array activity that I introduced at the end. And then we had a fire drill. So, everything could go right and it can still go wrong. And it's okay. So that's what I learned from my lesson. That's my arrays lesson. This was my student teaching final project. Thank you. Woo-hoo. We're done. We're done. Oh, it's still recording. How do I stop it? Boom. Bye.